What are some of the negative stereotypes that you've heard associated with mental illnesses or those people who are dealing with mental illnesses?
That they are crazy, which is not true in the slightest. I actually really hate that stigma.
Hopeless, they're not trying hard enough, it's their fault, all in their control.
I've heard like, oh, she's just crazy, or oh, he's exaggerating.
You're not strong enough. You just haven't been praying hard enough.
And sometimes calling someone special, like, there's no need to call them that. Like, they're still a human. There's no point in giving them an extra title when what is going on is something they have no control over.
Right.
On my way, on my way, on my way down. On my way, on my way, on my way down. You were the one that was trying.
I kind of like to be left alone because I know that if someone is just like, what's wrong? You want to talk about it? I'm gonna start crying immediately. And I don't, always want to cry.
To be like surrounded by people that I love, just to make sure that I don't, like, even if I'm feeling down or I'm feeling like I'm not supposed to be here, I'm not supposed to be doing these things, or all this negativity in my life, I would want somebody to step in and just be like, hey, stop, you're beautiful. Like, hey, like, those little affirmations that people say all the time, but and people don't really think much of it.
Random check-ins every now and then, usually in person.
That can change my day from going to my room and crying to then going to my room and saying, hey, I can do it, and I'm ready to take on the next day.
Your roommate yelling, why you gotta take so long?
I would say that it's a taboo in the Black community only because we have such strong foundations with the church. And I think that oftentimes we think that church is the solution for everything. And while I do agree that prayer is a powerful thing, I think that God is giving you the discernment to take action on your mental illness, meaning that God is going to show you which doctor is best or which medication you need to be on. So I think that we need to understand that prayer isn't the action. Prayer is the stepping stone to the action.
Another reason why the topic of mental health might be so taboo in the African American community is just because of African Americans' history with doctors. Tuskegee experiment, Henrietta Lacks, especially if you're Black and you're gay. The first outbreak of HIV, where they rolled out the medicine, was actually so toxic that they wouldn't even give it to cancer patients. And so it's just it's just an accumulation of mistrust among the Black community and doctors and people in the health profession. So that might be why, even if you would want to turn to someone, a counselor, a therapist for help, you wouldn't trust them just because of the history.
We have pushed ourselves from the inside out to say, I gotta be strong. So no matter what happens to me, I'm gonna be strong and I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna overcome.
Hate to chase 'em. Look at the nation, that's a crooked smile, braces couldn't
I wouldn't really be able to tell you because no one really speaks about it. I mean, I've heard people talk about their physical health and getting snatched and stuff, but no one has really talked about mental health, and I think it's because no one has ever felt the need to.
I'm really not sure. Every time we have these mental health talks, it seems to me that the people who attend are very open and are very aware of the topic, but that's also just the people who attend, and it's not that large of a number. So I think that could be an indicator of what people really think. 50 out of, 7,000, 8,000 people can attend, and we can talk about it fine and dandy and go home and think we're all right. But the rest of the 6,950 people who don't attend aren't getting the same word, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I do. I feel like at this age in our generation, it's more well known than in past generations that mental illnesses do exist, but I feel like people still don't really know what to do about it, so it's definitely still taboo, and it's always a just do it, as opposed to, well, why aren't you doing it, and is there anything that I can do to help, or what do you feel like you need? Just do it, no questions asked.
The best thing that we can do is just make our support known. I don't know what to do when they come to us, though. That's the one thing I've been trying to figure out over these past couple months is what do you do?
How to talk to a friend. And the first thing we're going to say, people are going to think, oh, that's nothing. But I promise you, it goes a long way to listen. I mean, that is a huge first step that many people need. Be caring, understanding, and listen.
And also making safe spaces, like if everything is always uptight and professional and, oh, we're just here to network, then people are not necessarily going to feel like they're around a group of people that they can open up to.
So when you have a friend and you make sure that they're safe and you're being supportive and listening, and they still don't want to do anything about it, they just say, well, girl, just go on. I'm good. You go ahead. You know, I'm okay. In that moment, you yourself can call the counseling center or call me and say, I just had an encounter with somebody that I think is not well. They said they might be hearing voices, or they complain about being depressed over the past month, or they share with me that they get very anxious and, heart palpitations and, feel like they are fearful for their lives because the anxiety is so high. So they start sharing things that are not healthy responses just to life. You can go and get some help for them. So it doesn't mean that you have to take them with you to get help, but you can come to me or go to the counseling center or go to student affairs or a leader that you trust to say, I'm having a hard time helping somebody else. What I don't want anyone to do is just keep it for themselves. The other thing is, don't typecast, don't stereotype. So if someone comes to you and they're beautiful and their makeup is always on point, their clothes are always tight, and they're always, have the right answers in class or making the connections to organizations and have a lot of friends, just because that's what they feel or portray to you on the outside, doesn't mean that they're not depressed. So if they say to you, oh, I'm depressed. Girl, you got everything. Why are you depressed? You don't need to be sad. Don't do that. So don't ignore it.
Start to recognize the symptoms. Spread word to the faculty members so they can recognize the symptoms, so that when you see something, you've already established a relationship because you're asking someone constantly how they are and you care about their well-being genuinely.